Howdy, everyone, and welcome back to the Smart Ag and the Equine Industry podcast. Today, we're specifically going to be talking about horse health and hydration. So, first, I just want to revisit our conversation about smart ag, what that is, and kind of what that looks like. So, some big players are the Internet of Things, big data analytics, and also AI as an artificial intelligence. So, Internet of Things really talks about devices that sense, monitor, and track data, and they have a great communication between devices. And then big data analytics analyzes, condenses, and allows producers to make better informed decisions based on precise and exact data that's being collected from whether that's crops or feedlot information for animal agriculture, different things like that. And of course, artificial intelligence. So today, for our conversation in the equine industry, we're going to talk about an example of an Internet of Things device that pertains to horse hydration. So what this device really does is it allows for an easier way and a more efficient way to monitor how much water your horse is drinking. Um, so this product is specifically the company that designs it is Cascada, and it is a device that has a sensor that is placed above your horse's water bucket, and it senses and tracks how much water your horse is drinking. So when it gets low, it's able to refill it, but it also takes that data when your horse has drank, collects it and sends it and communicates it to an app that builds a profile for your horse and compiles all the data to kind of allow you to see where your horse's normal is, which is really helpful because horses have different requirements. So working horses have a higher water requirement. Brood mares have a higher water requirement. At certain times of the year, your horse might have a different water requirement based on humidity and heat impact. So being able to know um, what your horse's normal is really important. And it also sends you a notification when your horse's water intake is out of that normal range. So that's really helpful also in being able to prevent issues specifically like colic, because that is one of the leading causes of death for horses every year. And usually the biggest factor in that is dehydration and water intake, because no matter how well your horse is fed and no matter how healthy otherwise they seem to be, if they're dehydrated, something in their system is going to be upset and lead to colic. So, horse hydration is critical, and being able to preventatively um, catch colic is really important. And this device and this data also allows you to make better decisions about how to treat this dehydration. So, if you get this notification early on in the day that your horse is not drinking as much as they typically do, you can take steps like adding electrolytes to their feed or giving them a pace so that you can prevent the colic and the other issues and the dehydration from occurring. So, what I really like about this product specifically is that it kind of takes our two main traditional methods that we use right now in the horse industry of keeping our horses hydrated and takes the pros of both of those methods, combines it into one device, and kind of really eliminates the cons. So first, just to review, I guess what we consider technology right now in horse hydration is really just using floats and automatic waterers, which obviously are really convenient in terms of limited labor, and you don't have to worry about your horse running out of water if they splash around, if they like to play in it. That float is just going to allow for that trough or that bucket to be refilled continuously, and they always have an endless supply of water. And of course, the downside to those automatic waters are that you cannot track. You don't know how much water your horse has consumed. So if they are acting colicky or if they seem off, you can't completely eliminate dehydration until you take them to a vet. And there was no way to kind of preventatively address that issue. And then, of course, the super old-fashioned way is just to manually refill your standard water buckets, which I would say a lot of producers prefer because they are able to monitor and track how much water intake a horse is getting. But of course, a downside is someone has to take the time to refill those water buckets. So if you have a big horse training program or if you run a lot of brood mares and they're all up out of the pasture, you're gonna have to be refilling those water buckets continuously, at least 2 times a day, usually more like 3 times, especially for those working horses that are stalled. Um, you're gonna have to refill them a lot more often. And then also, you might be manually filling those water buckets, but then you have to remember if you have 20 to 50 horses in a barn, how are you going to remember specifically if Old Red drank half a bucket or did he drink an entire bucket? Do you remember, is that his normal? Is that less than normal? All of those things. So it's really nice to have this Internet of Things device that has a sensor that not only is able to refill that water, but collect all of that data, log it, track it, create a profile for your horse so that you have it, you can see the history of it, and then you're able to make better informed decisions on if you need to preventatively intervene and help your horse, encourage your horse to drink more water. I guess there is kind of the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But horse people do try when horses refuse to drink water with our electrolytes. So um, next, I kind of want to share Cascada's perspective specifically, and they're going to tell you a little bit more about their technology, address some other concerns that you might have. I will say something that they don't touch on in this um, discussion is the price. It is very expensive. Each sensor is um, about $900, which if you run a bigger program, that is going to get very costly. But again, you have to consider the reduced management and labor costs. So, are you having to hire less people, or is your help and labor being dedicated to other things like riding more horses, taking care of more brood mares, those kinds of things? And but otherwise, I feel like they do a great job of addressing all other concerns that you might have. So let's take a look.
We've spent years designing Cascada. We wanted to take our time and make sure that this was the best automatic waterer on the market. We use a method called ultrasonic ranging to detect the water level in your bucket. This allows us to track how much water is being consumed by the horse and to detect whether or not the bucket is present and ready for filling. Ultrasonic sensing functions over a wide range of temperatures. It's waterproof, and for our system, it can operate even with large amounts of hay in the bucket. Horse safety and well-being are our top priorities. That's why we designed Cascada to use only low-voltage electrical connections. They're supplied by a low-voltage DC power supply with protection mechanisms. Even in the case where your horse might damage the system, they're still going to be safe. We iterated on the industrial design and the form factor of the Cascada for years. We wanted to make sure that it was a very smooth surface and without any sharp edges that your horse could get cut on. And it's all rugged nylon plastic, which doesn't shatter, which makes it very safe. There are a lot of different aspects that make Cascada unique, but the one that I think will make the biggest difference for people is the connectivity. Being able to remotely track hydration is a game changer. Cascadas have wireless connectivity, which means we can relay information about your horse's drinking habits and the current fill level of your bucket up to the cloud, and then report that to your mobile phone so you can track your horse's hydration and know exactly how much water is available to your horse. No matter where you are in the world, you'll have access to your hydration tracking information. In the Cascada system, multiple devices can be associated with a single horse. In that way, we can combine all the hydration tracking information associated with your horse in the cloud so that you have their total hydration information.
So I definitely want to touch on something that he said specifically about that connectivity and kind of no matter where you are in the world, you can monitor how much water your horse is drinking. And I think that it's really important to highlight the product innovation that is within that and how we've taken these old methods of monitoring and created something much more efficient. And this really is important to when I think of stakeholders in this, I personally, because it connects to what I do in my day to day, is a trainer could be off at a show with half of the barn, and the other half of the barn could be at home with his assistant, which in my case, I am the assistant who usually um, takes care of the horses that don't go to the show. And so it would be really helpful for me if um, while my boss is away, if he gets a notification and says, "Oh, hey, this horse did not drink as much. Will you go check on him real quick?" Usually, while he's gone, I still have to ride all these horses, so I'm in and out of the arena, especially if we have these automatic waterers where I'm not having to check them constantly. It's really helpful to get that notification so that I can go check that horse, make sure everything's okay, give it some electrolytes, and take those preventative informed steps and decisions to make sure that horse has everything it needs to be healthy. And the fact that multiple people can see it, he can see it, so he always knows what's going on, even when he's away. I can see it so that I know what's going on in the barn that I'm currently in. But owners can also see that and they can have a sense of security and safety and just be reassured that their horses are being well taken care of if they might not be at their house, which a lot of clients say that they miss their horse. And so it's kind of really beneficial for them to be able to see um, the status of their horse and that their horse is being taken care of. So I think that not only does this improve horse performance by allowing them to have um, an abundant and continuous source of water, but also it eliminates that need for labor, but it also helps trainers make better informed decisions based on that information and that data storage. And it takes how we currently manage our horses' hydration and health, and it creates something much more efficient. So I hope that you guys look into this product and consider using it if you think that it is worth the investment. So I'm excited to dive into more areas of smart ag in the equine industry. Next week, we might talk about smart ag in the breeding side of the industry. So, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for continuing this conversation on innovation and smart ag in the equine industry.